Hi, thank you for your question. For those who don't know, my name is MJ. I'm a trans man and I'm married to this sexy hunk of trans man. I just took this picture of him yesterday. Isn't it such a good picture? So to answer your question, yes, in certain situations, I do think that because my husband passes so well, that it does decrease how much I pass. Obviously, this isn't his fault, and it's obviously not the fault of, other humans who just, misconstrue our relationship or, misgender me, whatever. A lot of it is human nature. I don't think a lot of it has, ill intent attached to it. Human beings tend to innately want to, group people into boxes that they understand more. And if they don't have a lot of knowledge or experience surrounding, different lifestyles, different, just different paths in life, and obviously it's going to be hard for them to group people in anything other than a traditional family unit. In our country, obviously, it's more common to have households with, a mom, a dad, and then the children. I know not every family is like that. Obviously, look at mine. But generally, that's what you see and what people expect. This is why when people find out that I'm married to a man, they're kind of shocked. Because in their heads, they're thinking why would you go through all that transition and everything, Because they think my dream must be the traditional American family, you know what I mean? So in their heads, they're why would you go through all that just to be with a dude? And of course, people don't transition to be with certain genders, but it makes sense that they flock to this thought because in our country, that is considered the ideal, a husband, a wife, and children. So people presume automatically most families are going to align with that, illustration until they learn about different walks of life from people like me who share our story. So if my husband and I are out on our own just by ourselves, I don't think that that necessarily decreases me passing unless he's affectionate to me in public somehow. But if people just see us at face value, usually they think we're brothers. We don't look that much different. Or they just think we're really good friends. He's even gotten mistaken for my dad. And I'm the older one. He just turned 30. Before I met my husband, when I would, go out with my son and it was just him and I, strangers did a lot of the time just presume that I was his father. But since I, got married and everything to my husband and we go out as a family unit, I don't think even once I've been mistaken for his dad. And that's because, listen, I got the cream of the crop. This dude, he might be a trans guy, but he's almost 6 feet tall, okay? He's a fucking beast. He's huge. He's got an amazing beard. I talk a lot about how, in the beginning of our relationship, we, neither one of us were in a good place. We were always ghosting each other, just neither one of us were serious. It was not good. And I remember one time, I was begging for him back, right? And I was I'm never gonna find anybody like you. There are no trans men out there like you. And he's that's really sweet of you to say. I'm no, you don't get it. There's not. I've searched. And I dead-ass did on one of our breaks. I'm let me find just a trans guy who's almost 6 feet tall, amazing beard, is patient, compassionate, employed, driven, anything. Who likes dudes? Slim pickings, so, I know what I have. But yeah, when we're in public, and it's my husband and I and our kid, I definitely think that, the general public, the consensus they come to is that, he must be the dad and I must be the mom. And I don't necessarily think that's because, in general, I don't pass or something. I think it's more so because, like I said, humans just naturally want to associate, individuals or families with, what they are most familiar with and in our country, that is the traditional family. So, and this is just a vibe I get, I'm not really sure if people think this, I'm just presuming. The vibe I get from people when they see my husband and I and our kid is they assume that he is the dad and that I'm the mom and that I must have, transitioned and he stayed with me, or maybe I decided I was a lesbian and he stayed with me, or maybe they just think I'm a super tomboy. I don't know. But one of the reasons why I think that it was easier for me to kind of adjust to this and not get super upset or offended by it is because my son, I've talked about this before, he's autistic. He was not speaking verbally until 5 years old. Really, he didn't become fluent until after that. And my son, he doesn't really remember me before I transitioned, but because everybody else referred to me as his mom, like my parents, his dad, he just caught on to that and he started calling me mom and I wasn't going to change it. So I'm used to being in public looking like a full-on dude and then my son calling me mom and people getting a little confused. And yeah, like there are times where it's uncomfortable. There's times where it could possibly be a safety issue. I mean, I've used the men's room for literally, 7 or 8 years. And I have been petrified at times, like my son is going to call me mom and somebody's going to hear it, it's going to be an issue. But the discomfort of people viewing me as a woman off the bat, like because they associate me with a motherly role, any discomfort associated with that definitely does not override the fact that, like, I want my son to be able to address me how he wants, and I love my family. I'm very proud of my family no matter how others perceive us. So that's really what keeps me going. But one thing I want to stress in case there's any other trans men watching this, even the trans men that pass like the absolute most still get misgendered at times. And that's been really eye-opening for me because I used to get down on myself like publicly on here about how like, I don't always pass and like, just really feeling insecure about things like filling in my beard with makeup and stuff, feeling like, going places just as I am isn't adequate enough or safe enough. And of course, I'm not saying don't practice safety or anything like that. But when you think of people that transition, if you could envision the most like tallest, biggest, deepest voice having, best beard having trans man out there, they still get misgendered sometimes. I promise you this because over the years I have had people in my inbox that fit my description of people that I would think like would never get misgendered. And they're still misgendered sometimes too. I would reckon that a lot of cis men are misgendered as women sometimes. Like I think it happens more than we think. But just because like if you're a trans man and you're insecure about passing like I have in the past, like I think it's just like you just kind of grip onto it more and pay more mind to it than is necessary. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on that.